Breaking the shackles, a slice of mini redemption for the West Coast Eagles in the form of a 34-point win over the Swans, snapping a 3-game losing streak. There was a toughness and energy to the victory, and while it wasn't perfect, it was a big step in the right direction. Welcome to this week's episode of Eagle Review, proudly sponsored by Kennards Hire. They are, of course, making your job easy. Kennards.com.au, shop in store or online. Tyson Beattie. Geez, it's great doing these shows after a win. It's a bit of a change of pace for you and I, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, Stephen. It really was a sight for sore eyes. You mentioned energy, and it was the youth of the squad that really helped kick-start some super footy for the Eagles. Finally, a win in the hub. We get the boys back next week.
Yeah, I agree. 1-3 heading into the game. I think the nerves were well and truly cranked seeing Sydney bolt out of the gates. They started really well. They kicked a couple of goals from our turnovers, so really pounced on our errors. But inside 50, 60% scoring efficiency. They had 6 marks inside forward 50. I mean, you have 24 for the game, and that's basically wrapping up 4 points. They were intercepting well, taking 4 marks also, but if it wasn't for 2 young fellas standing up deep into time on, who knows if we would have had that momentum shift that clearly took place.
Oh, absolutely. Oscar Allen dropped last week, a fresh cut, all business, and he's back in form. Here's this big mark, one of his 3 contested, 6 in total, goes back, slots it. What about Jake Waterman? Adam Simpson said he was brought into the team for his passion. How's the 65-metre bomb at quarter time? Now, Muddy, the old man, he had a good kick. Jake's got a cannon as well, and that was his 2nd goal for the quarter.
It was an absolute monster. And how's the hairdo? A little bit of party at the back. Oof. Got the moustache going on.
Whoa.
I mean, that was a unique appearance.
That's one way of putting it.
5-point lead at half-time, so the game was truly on a knife's edge. We talked about last week an 8-goal-2 poor second-half average while being in the hub. We flipped that on its head, 6-2 in our favour. Just showed great intensity around the ball, plus 24 contested disposals, a big tick there. But the defensive pressure, stopping Sydney's handball, breaking the lines through the corridor. I mean, they had a beautiful goal in the first quarter set up in that manner. They persisted with it, and the press from the back end from the West Coast Eagles really stifled that effectively. It limited their rebound 50s in the second half of the game, and it just showed the type of resilience this group had to bring a performance like that after the 3 weeks they'd had in the hub.
It's an interesting point. I mean, Adam Simpson made the point in the post-match press conference that they hadn't adjusted their game style to what 2020 has thrown up this year.
That was a very interesting comment, that. Yeah. Almost willing to just play our way and let the others adapt, but they said, no, it's time to change, almost.
Oh, it just shows you the skill of this coaching staff to then rewire the team. And obviously a great week of training must have been over there as well. And Nat Nui was sensational. The mids gave the Eagles forwards great supply, plus 17 inside 50, Stephen. 47% of inside 50s resulted in scores. Now, that's a stat we mentioned last week. That's up 16% from the power game. We won the tackle count. We dominated the time in possession. Plus 25 marks, plus 13 clearances. 9 goals out of 11 from Swans turnovers made them really play. You've got to like those numbers.
Well, you touched on the ruck. I mean, plus 13 clearances. It doesn't happen without this bloke, Nick Natanui, in fine form again. I mean, real tough task for Hayden McLean. In there because Sinclair and Naismith are out through injuries. 46 hit-outs to 10. That's an absolute drubbing. Nick Nat, 49 ruck contests, 39 hit-outs, 4 tackles, 6 score involvements. But 70% time on ground, Tyson, that's creeping up a little bit.
Well, I knew you were going to get excited about that time on ground. In fact, I messaged you during the game, and he was 80% in the third quarter. He rested a little bit in the fourth quarter. You didn't get back to me, of course.
Random number, I think, that one.
Oscar Allen, 3 goals. He was sensational. 8 score involvements, twice as many minutes as he had against the Lions.
I think that's a big stat, that one. I mean, an injury like Luke Shuey coming out of the midfield doesn't bring your second-tier ruckman/forward up an extra 40 minutes. Clearly, they wanted to unleash him a little bit, and I'm thrilled he got reward for effort on that occasion.
Jake Waterman, fantastic. We mentioned earlier, 11 marks between Allen and Waterman together. And what seems to happen is that when you have those two guys down there, it splits the forwards apart. It started to bring Darling into the game a little bit as well, didn't you think?
Yeah, I do. And it was just great to see the new wave of Eagles kind of coming through. We touched on those two, but your defenders in Duggan, Cole, Nelson, Jones up forward. Yep. Just seeing the next wave. Tim Kelly, of course, leading that midfield. It's exciting times.
What did you make of Andrew Gaff? He was obviously tagged early by Ryan Clark.
It was interesting because when Shuey came out of the game, they said, we'll throw Gaff on ball. Maybe that'll stifle the tag a little bit. An interesting stat. Andrew Gaff, 98% time on ground. Came off once. Ryan Clark, 98% game. Came off once as well. Now, Gaffy's 18 disposals, where do you reckon he had the most of them? Front or back end? Of course it's the second half because he's being able to wear down Ryan Clark, not used to playing such big minutes, and the tank of Andrew Gaff coming to the fore right there. Sheed, Great to see him back in the best for the West Coast Eagles. 24 disposals, 9 clearances, getting the most of that Nananui first touch. Elliot Yeo, what a beast he was, the 2-time club best and fairest winner. 9 score involvements, 9 clearances as well, 21 disposals. But Cripper, back in the goal list, hasn't kicked one for 2020.
How about the celebration after his first goal? It's like he's kicked his first goal ever.
Warranted, I reckon.
Now, what about Brad Shepherd? 13 marks. Now, did you know he led the AFL in marks last year?
Oh, good stat.
No, that's not brought up too often. Still doesn't have an All-Australian jacket. Hopefully someday. Good link-up man as well. 21 disposals. Now, he has to deal with Heaney and Papley, and he's still running at 86% efficiency on his 21 disposals.
Well, he had the most rebound 50s from any defender in the Eagles team, so he's quelling his opponent, using it at a high clip.
Brilliant.
What can't he do?
Liam Duggan, also very good on the weekend. 17 disposals for him. Leading defender in metres gained.
Yeah, good stat, that one. I enjoyed his big bump on Malakan in this first quarter, not because I want violence and I'm begging for blood like I'm in the Coliseum, but what that did is Malakan played 50% game time in the third quarter and 0% in the fourth. Those types of little acts on the footy field, those hard acts, won't get a stat for that, but severely impacted their rotations and perhaps game plan. Great work there from Liam Duggan.
Yeah, great intensity there. Luke Shuey, unfortunately, a sour note. He went down with a hamstring injury in the first term. We don't know how long he'll be out for, although Simo thinks perhaps a week or two.
No, I didn't know Simpson had picked up his doctorate in medicine and just starting to hypothesise injuries, but let's hope it is 1 to 2. Hasn't been injured since the 2018 Premiership season when he did do that hamstring, but hasn't missed a game in 2019, so let's hope he's back with the boys soon. Simo did talk about the elevation in training intensity on that Wednesday main training, and he said a lot of boys were sore after the game. Did that contribute to Luke Shuey doing a soft tissue injury? We're never going to know, but it was interesting he did point that out. Will they scale it back? Because they were great around the contest with their contested ball and their ferocity, so it seems like it paid off in some respects. Jermaine Jones, though, also falling victim to a hamstring curse.
Yeah, this is a disappointing one, Stephen. He was really building some good form here. 24 pressure acts, and he was getting a bit of the footy. He did this hamstring injury late in the game. Really disappointing for a youngster who was really finding his place in the team.
Couldn't agree more. They were searching for that small forward to fill in that role that, of course, Willie Rioli has left. Does this give Petruccelli another opportunity to come back in? Jared Cameron was quite good in the scrimmage a couple of days prior. They've got some decisions to make.
Absolutely. And one player we are lucky to have this week is Jack Redden. He escaped with a fine for this connection here now, or lack of connection. And I tell you, this is extremely risky, Stephen.
I agree. I mean, we saw Jeremy McGovern get rubbed out for something that looked insufficient force, and this had all the writings of it going in a replica. So happy Reddo will be out there next week. Now, this wouldn't be a review show without, of course, touching on surely what is the mark of the round winner in Tom Barras. Jeez, he flew. Got some severe hang time there, TB.
You know, he used to fly all the time for these in his younger days, but he's a little bit more anchored now, but he really flew for that one.
I agree, and let's hope that game is the confidence. It's going to give him the confidence he needs. I mean, when you're playing on these superstar key forwards of the competition, if you're just a couple of % off with your confidence, that's all it can take between a couple of goals swinging each way. Remember, he had an injury-interrupted pre-season, so let's hope he's now going to start to build into some great 2020 form.
Yeah. Now, we wore our Indigenous Guernseys on the weekend to honour NAIDOC round. We've actually won 70% of the time in our Indigenous Guernseys.
Well, remarkably, out of those 9 losses in the NAIDOC jumper, 3 of them were against the Swans.
We actually lost 8 out of the last 10 games against Sydney going into this one, so they've been a bit of a hoodoo club for us.
Stat machine you are at the moment. All right, it is, of course, time for Roast of the Round, and let's get cranking here. We're going to start it off with the goal umpire hitting the deck. That's going to make it every day of the week. Jeez, I felt for a leer here. I reckon he had about 10 fumbles in this one passage. In the end said, I've had enough. You take it, Elliot Yeo. I'm done. JK missing at the top of the goal square. You could count this on one hand. This is rare from the superstar key forward, but it's still a roast in my book, JK.
Absolutely. Josh Kennedy's usually pretty smart with his decision making, but got caught after playing on here. Not a pretty one. That's a roast. Blakey, now this mark after the siren.
Split second.
This could have been one of the great marks of the year.
Well, sadly, it's second best mark on the day, but I mean, it just got you thinking, if TB takes that mark a split second after, or any of the great marks, that is still a fantastic mark from Blakey. Could you imagine a mark of the year getting taken just after siren? Nope, does not count.
Hugely disappointing.
Sorry, champion.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll roast that for the mark. We're on to the winner now. Geez, that didn't take long, but Jamie Cripps, great to see him back in the goal kickers list. This one here. When did Schnicko come into the AFL? What did I miss?
I don't know. Is that new?
I don't know, but it robbed him of a goal, and sadly, that still didn't top Nick Nananui's brilliance at the top of the goal square here. A bit of solo artwork goal. Now, hang on a minute. It's come off JK's face.
Yeah. It's the first goal in history that's been denied by a beard.
The worst part about it, though, is that all the teammates claim that Josh Kennedy has the smallest head in the entire AFL competition. Have a listen.
Yeah, we're lucky enough for having a baby due in about 4 more weeks. So
It should be a pretty easy birth if it's got a head the size of yours.
Or is your head too small?
Mate, it's not as small as yours, mate. Speaking of small head, that's a pinhead, isn't it? That's why he's got a hair and a big beard.
What are the odds of that?